discussion. But we'll actually begin the show with a story from the National Basketball Association. Reporter Pablo Torre reported this yesterday, and there has been some clapback by the Los Angeles Clippers and their owner, Steve Ballmer. But I'll explain the story. The NBA is currently investigating that there are allegations from a report from Torre that the Clippers and Steve Ballmer circumvented the salary cap by paying Kawhi Leonard to do a job that had no responsibilities. Apparently, Leonard, according to this report, signed a $28 million endorsement deal for a no-show job with a fraudulent tree planting company funded $50 million by Clippers owner Steve Ballmer. According to the report, it was to circumvent the salary cap. Ballmer, in a statement made to the media, said that this did not exist. Of course, we'll follow the story as it continues and see if this is actually something or much ado about nothing. Remains to be seen. Meanwhile, $21.6 million. What does that number represent? That's the amount of money that Kalshi has taken through their quote-unquote contracts in tonight's affair between the Eagles and Cowboys. So how about that? Not sports betting, but prediction markets, which are available all around the country, seemingly very similar to sports betting. They're saying it's not. And because it's active, it's $21 million tonight on Kalshi. How about that? The current line right now is Eagles minus 8.5 over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. The total is 47.5. We'll have this game covered for you, by the way, tonight on Game Time Decisions and, of course, in-game live as our NFL coverage begins this evening. 8:20 p.m. Eastern kick, so they say. Of course, they're going to raise the banner probably about 8:30. All right, now the Cowboys apparently were talking to the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman about making a trade, sending Micah Parsons to Philadelphia, but the Cowboys refused to do it. This according to a latest report. Kind of hard to believe that Philly and Dallas would even make a trade in the division, so this makes sense that it didn't end up happening. Meanwhile, the Cook family is set to buy 10% of the New York Giants, and the valuation comes through because when you are going to buy a piece of a team, it has to be valuated. So right now, that number is $10 billion for the New York Giants. Remember that Josh Harris bought the Washington Commanders at $6.05 million, so that means the Giants are worth about $4 million more. Meanwhile, with the Dolphins getting ready to play the Indianapolis Colts, we're finally hearing from the relationship between Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill. You may remember at the end of last season seemed a little fractured, but they've now had a full training camp. They've now had a full preseason, and although Hill was not named a captain on the Dolphins this season, Tua says that he and Tyreek are in a good spot.
I would say it's good. I think for what it was earlier in the summer was just that, and I think people might have blown it out of proportion to where now, I mean, we've worked we've worked on it, and I think that conversation is dead now. I think once people see Tyreek score on Sunday, everyone will forget about that. So we're in a good spot, and we've been in a good spot for some time as well. So I'm really happy with that and pleased with that, and I'm very pleased with how our guys are operating now. In all rooms.
I mean, that's typically what you guys do, blow it out of proportion. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of, how, the views and, it gets spread all over the internet. But at the end of the day, like, me and Tua know exactly where we stand at. He knows, and I know that we both have a brother, for the rest of our life. And we're going to continue to build, man, each and every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, brothers fight all the time. Like, I fight with my brothers. Like, we go at it all the time. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we know what the main goal is. We still a family. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to continue to get better each and every day.
Tyreek says the media blew it out of proportion. Same player who said that he wanted to leave the Dolphins at the end of last season. Okay. Joe Burrow is ready to start the season. Hasn't been a good start for Burrow over the course of his career. He's 1-9 combined. How about that? At weeks 1 and 2. In his career, but Burrow says this is the healthiest and best he's ever felt going into their week 1 game.
I mean, I'm very confident. My body's in a place that it hasn't been in years past. So for me personally, I'm excited about that opportunity. We're treating it like any other game. We're not doing anything differently. Obviously, there's an emphasis on the start of this season and then having to win some of these games early, but that comes down to Sundays. Our prep has always been excellent, in my opinion. We're going to have the right game plan because we have great coaches, and we're going to know what we're doing when we're out there because, we put in the work. It's just about going out and executing those plays and doing the right things on Sunday.
Over to college football, Alabama loses to FSU, and they lose another lineman. This time it is defensive lineman Jeremiah Beeman, going to miss the entire season. The Crimson Tide have now lost a couple of linemen after the first week of the year. Gio Lopez, quarterback for North Carolina, could suit up in week 2. Some controversy as to who potentially could start for Bill Belichick. We'll see if it is Lopez. Of course, he's a little banged up after being thrown on the ground so much this past week. And also, Sharon Moore is set to coach at Oklahoma. Of course, he'll be suspended for a couple of games. It is the marquee game in college football this week, Michigan at Oklahoma on Saturday night. Over to Major League Baseball, the Yankees bullpen falls apart late. The Astros grab an 8-7 comeback win as they take the victory there. Devin Williams, of course, has been part of a lot of these issues, so to speak, late in the game and wasn't really happy. Neither was the manager about the umpire's ball strike calls yesterday.
A lot of close pitches there in that 8th inning. Did you feel like the strike zone was incredibly inconsistent?
I already looked at it. He definitely missed 4, which is what I told him, and he threw me out for it.
How frustrating is that for you when you're in a pressure-packed situation like that with a game on the line and perhaps to not get those calls you believe are strikes in those situations?
Yeah, when you're making good pitches, which I was, not getting those calls really changes the course of an at-bat. Obviously Correa hit the double, so I'm kind of have my back against the wall right away. Made some really good pitches to Sanchez, which he missed 2 in that at-bat. But yeah, I competed, but, I don't know. It's just ridiculous to have the inning that I had, and then for us to, Jazz got the bat taken out of his hands on a pitch that was a lot further from the zone than pitches I was making.
Guardians beat the Red Sox last night 8-1, so no status loss there in the chase for the playoffs between the Yankees and Red Sox. But meanwhile, the Blue Jays did beat the Reds yesterday, and George Springer homered again. This guy is just incredible this year. 13-9 the final there. Also, Rays beat the Mariners yet again. 8 runs in the first 2 innings. Final score, Tampa Bay 9, Seattle 4. The Pirates end up taking out the Dodgers 3-0. Shohei Ohtani was scheduled to pitch in this one. He was sick. He did not. Orioles hit 4 home runs off Nestor Cortez. They beat the Padres 7-5. Tigers win again. Kerry Carpenter 3-run home run. They beat the Mets 6-2. And the Braves end up taking care of the Cubs 5-1.